In the heart of Manhattan, where skyscrapers pierce the sky like silver arrows, shot from the bow of ambition, Oliver Scott reigned supreme over his vast domain. At 32, he was the epitome of American success, a white billionaire whose name evoked envy and awe. Scott Enterprises, his tech conglomerate, sprawled across the financial district, a labyrinth of glass and steel that hummed with the ceaseless rhythm of innovation. From AI-driven algorithms that predicted market shifts to cybersecurity fortresses guarding the secrets of Fortune 500 giants, Oliver's empire was a testament to his unyielding drive. Yet beneath the polished veneer of boardroom triumphs and penthouse opulence lay a solitude as profound as the shadows cast by those towering edifices. Oliver's days unfolded in a meticulously orchestrated symphony of power. He rose before dawn in his Upper East Side penthouse, a sprawling eyrie overlooking Central Park, where the first rays of sunlight gilded the antique oak floors and the minimalist art pieces he'd acquired not for passion, but for prestige. His mornings were ritualistic, a punishing workout in his private gym overlooking the waking city, followed by a black coffee intense, unadorned, mirroring his temperament. By 7, he was en route to the office, in a sleek black Tesla, the streets of New York parting before him, like waves before a prow. In meetings, his presence was electric. His sharp blue eyes, framed by tousled dark hair, dissected proposals with surgical precision. Colleagues whispered of his Buddha-like asceticism, a man who allowed no distractions, especially not the glamorous socialites who fluttered around him like moths to a flame. But Oliver harbored a deep-seated disdain for fake elegant women. It stemmed from a wound etched into his soul 5 years prior. She was Isabella Voss, a porcelain-skinned heiress from old money circles with cascading blonde locks and a laugh that tinkled like crystal. She had waltzed into his life at a gala in the Hamptons, her emerald gown clinging to curves that promised paradise. Oliver, then a rising star, had fallen hard, envisioning a partnership of equals, a union that blended intellect and desire. They courted in whirlwind fashion, private jets to Paris for dinners, at Michelin-starred hideaways weekends on his yacht off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. He proposed under a canopy of stars, slipping a flawless diamond onto her finger, believing he'd found his anchor in a sea of superficiality. The betrayal came swiftly, a dagger twisted in the velvet night. Isabella had been siphoning secrets from his company, feeding them to a rival firm run by her true lover, a scheming venture capitalist with eyes on Oliver's throne. The scandal erupted in tabloid headlines. Billionaire's heart-shattered heiress plays the long con. Oliver's trust evaporated like morning mist over the Hudson. He severed ties, fortified his walls, and vowed never to let another woman breach them. Glamorous beauties need not apply, he'd once quipped to his assistant, Wyatt Kane, during a rare moment of candor. They chase the empire, not the man. Oliver's isolation weighed heavily as the autumn leaves began to turn in Central Park. His grandmother, Evelyn Scott, the matriarch who had built the family's foundation from a modest Brooklyn startup in the post-war era, was fading. At 85, her Alzheimer's had progressed like a thief in the night, stealing memories and leaving confusion in its wake. She resided in a luxurious assisted living facility on the Upper West Side, but her episodes grew erratic. "Oliver, my boy," she'd say during lucid visits, her frail hands clasping his. "This empire needs heirs, a great-grandchild to carry the torch. Find a woman with fire in her soul, not just sparkle in her eyes." Evelyn's pleas culminated in a dramatic ultimatum during a family dinner at her favorite Italian spot in Little Italy. Seated at a candlelit table laden with pasta al dente and vintage Chianti, she fixed her piercing gaze on him. "Search nationwide, Oliver. Search globally if you must. Whoever gives me a great-grandchild gets this billion-dollar stake in Scott Enterprises. Half the equity is yours to share with her." The room fell silent, the clink of silverware halting, as relatives exchanged glances. Oliver's brother, Ethan, a slick operator with a penchant for shortcuts, smirked from across the table, already plotting his angle. But Oliver felt only a hollow ache. "Grandma, I'm worried about you," he replied softly, his voice a low timbre that commanded respect. Marriage isn't a transaction. Yet Evelyn's words lingered, intertwining with a more profound mystery that haunted Oliver's nights. 4 years ago, during a high society gala at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, he'd been ensnared in a web of deceit. A rival executive, jealous of Scott Enterprises' dominance, had spiked his champagne with a potent aphrodisiac, intending to orchestrate a public scandal. The world blurred into a haze of heat and urgency. Oliver fled the opulent halls, stumbling into the cool embrace of Central Park's shadows. In a secluded grove near the Bethesda fountain, a woman appeared like an apparition from his fevered dreams. She was a silhouette at first curves, softened by moonlight, her presence a balm against the fire raging in his veins. "Are you okay?" Her voice had been a gentle melody laced with concern. He couldn't recall her face clearly, only fragments. Warm brown skin glowing under the stars. A leaf-shaped birthmark on her shoulder, glimpsed in the throes of passion, and the way her touch grounded him. In the aftermath, as clarity returned, he'd left behind his heirloom rosary beads, a family relic passed down from his great-grandfather, etched with prayers for protection. Find her, he'd instructed Wyatt upon returning from overseas deals at all costs. Retrieve the beads and thank her. The search had yielded nothing but frustration. Wyatt, a loyal shadow, with a knack for discretion, combed databases, hired private investigators, and even scoured pawn shops across the 5 boroughs. "Boss." It was pitch black that night, Wyatt had said during a late-night briefing in Oliver's office, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. "She has that birthmark. Should I start checking every woman in New York?" Oliver's response was steel. "Keep searching. She's out there." As Evelyn's condition worsened, the pressure mounted. One crisp afternoon, Oliver received the call that shattered his composure. "Mr. Scott, your grandmother's missing." The facility's director stammered over the line. Panic surged through him, a rare crack in his armored facade. He mobilized teams, alerting the NYPD and deploying drones over Central Park. Hours ticked by, in agonizing slowness, his mind racing through worst-case scenarios. While wandering the bustling streets, Evelyn was lost in her mind's fog. Finally, a tip from a traffic cop near the Brooklyn Bridge, an older woman causing a commotion, insisting she was searching for her grandson. Oliver sped across the city, his heart pounding in rhythm, with the siren wails echoing off the East River. Arriving at the scene, he pushed through the gathering crowd, his tailored suit rumpled for the first time in memory. There was Evelyn, frail yet defiant, clutching the arm of a young black woman who knelt beside her, offering a coat against the chill wind. The woman, Peyton Taylor, though he didn't know her name yet, spoke softly, her voice a soothing cadence that calmed Evelyn's agitation. Evelyn declared that "you're precisely the bride I want for my grandson." Her eyes alight with delusional certainty. Oliver froze, the scene unfolding like a romantic tableau from a forgotten novel. The woman's twins, 2 cherubic children with curls and wide eyes, clung to her legs, adding an unexpected tenderness. In that moment, amid the honking horns and the bridge's steel arches, Oliver felt a stirring he hadn't known since that fateful night 4 years ago. Was this fate's cruel jest, or the beginning of something profound? As he approached, Evelyn beamed. Oliver, my boy, I've found her, your soulmate. The woman's gaze met his dark eyes flecked with gold, holding a quiet strength that pierced his defenses. For the first time in years, Oliver Scott wondered if his isolated world was about to collide with destiny. Peyton Taylor navigated the labyrinthine streets of Harlem with the grace of a dancer, evading unseen obstacles, her strides purposeful amid the morning rush. At 26, she embodied the unyielding spirit of a black woman forging her path in a city that both cradled and challenged her dreams. Freshly graduated from community college with a degree in information technology, Peyton had clawed her way into an internship at Scott Enterprises, the gleaming behemoth in Midtown Manhattan. It was a foothold in a world dominated by privilege, where her presence often drew sidelong glances, subtle reminders that she was an outsider in the corridors of power. Her days began in the dim light of her cramped walk-up apartment on 125th Street, a third-floor haven filled with the scents of jasmine incense and freshly brewed coffee. The space was modest, a single bedroom shared with her twins Riley and Jordan, where colorful drawings adorned the walls like badges of innocence. Peyton rose at 5, her alarm, a soft chime that pulled her from dreams laced with echoes of loss. Orphaned at 16 after a car accident, claimed her parents' hard-working folks from a tight-knit community in Brooklyn, she learned early that resilience was her most extraordinary inheritance. Raised by an aunt who scraped by on 2 jobs, Peyton had balanced night classes with waitressing gigs, her determination a quiet fire that burned brighter with each setback. The twins were her anchors and her joy. Riley, the boy with a protective streak, as fierce as a lion cub, had her deep brown eyes and a laugh that could melt the sternest heart. At 4, he was already her little guardian, questioning strangers with a boldness that made Peyton smile through her worries. Jordan. His sister was the empathetic dreamer, her curls framing a face alight with curiosity. She sketched worlds of fantasy on scraps of paper, whispering stories of heroes and happy endings. "When I grow up, Mommy, I'll build us a castle," Jordan would say, her small hands gesturing grandly. Peyton cherished these moments, even as the weight of single motherhood pressed upon her bills, stacking like autumn leaves, daycare costs nibbling at her meager stipend. Commuting to work on the crowded A train, Peyton clutched her worn backpack, reviewing code snippets on her phone. Scott Enterprises' internship was a golden ticket, albeit one shadowed by the realities of corporate America. In the open-plan office on the 16th floor overlooking Times Square's neon frenzy, she tackled cybersecurity tasks, meticulously debugging firewalls, analyzing data breaches. But the environment simmered with undercurrents of prejudice. Colleagues like Fiona Reed, a sharp-tongued analyst with a penchant for passive-aggressive barbs, often dismissed Peyton's ideas with a condescending smile. "Fresh out of college, huh? You look so youthful." Fiona would say, her words laced with implications that Peyton's blackness made her an anomaly in tech. Marcus Hale, her department head, was worse, a middle-aged man with a paunch and a leer that made her skin crawl. Marcus embodied the entitlement Peyton had learned to navigate lingering touches during mentoring sessions, invitations to networking drinks that felt anything but professional. "Peyton, to celebrate your promotion. Wait your probation extension. Let's toast." He'd insist, his breath heavy with bourbon. She refused alcohol, citing company tradition or allergies, but the pressure mounted like storm clouds over the Hudson. One fateful evening, the storm broke at a company mixer in a trendy Chelsea loft, fairy lights strung like stars against exposed brick walls. The air buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, but Peyton sensed the trap. Marcus and Fiona cornered her near the bar, their smiles predatory. "Come on, Peyton. One drink won't hurt. It's tradition seniors toast the newbies," Fiona cooed, her eyes glittering with malice. Peyton hesitated, her instincts screaming caution, but the fear of being labeled disrespectful won out. She sipped the proffered cocktail, the liquid burning a path down her throat. Minutes later, the world tilted. Heat flushed her skin, an unnatural itch spreading like wildfire. "What's happening?" she murmured, excusing herself to the restroom. Splashing water on her face, she stared at her reflection, high cheekbones, full lips, the maple leaf birthmark on her shoulder, a reminder of that chaotic night 4 years ago. The memory surged unbidden, the gala she'd crashed as a college caterer, the disoriented man in the park, their desperate connection that left her with the twins, and a set of rosary beads she'd kept hidden, a talisman of unresolved fate. Staggering out, Peyton called a cab, her vision blurring. "Pick me up." "I think I ate something bad," she gasped into her phone. The ride home was a blur of nausea and paranoia. Collapsing into bed, she hugged Riley and Jordan close, their small bodies a shield against the encroaching darkness. Morning brought clarity and rage. At work, she confronted the subtle sabotage, but Marcus dismissed her with a wink. Overreacting Taylor. That's not how you climb the ladder here. Peyton's resilience shone in therapy sessions at a Harlem community center where she unpacked the layers of trauma. It's not just the drugging she'd confide to her counselor, a wise woman with silver braids. It's the constant proving I'm worthy, that my black skin doesn't make me less. The sessions fortified her, weaving threads of self-worth into her daily grind. She volunteered at local STEM programs for Black youth, mentoring girls who mirrored her younger self, instilling the mantra, "Your grind is your glory." Yet loneliness whispered in quiet moments. Peyton yearned for a partner who saw beyond the surface, a man who appreciated her depth, her unyielding love for her children. Little did she know, as she boarded the subway that crisp afternoon, that fate was aligning stars. A call from an unknown number. "Miss Taylor, this is about an older woman on the Brooklyn Bridge. She says your family." Rushing to the scene, Peyton found Evelyn Scott amid the chaos, her frail form defiant against the wind. Kneeling, Peyton offered her coat, her voice a soothing balm. "Grandma, it's too cold. Put this on." Evelyn's eyes lit with recognition or delusion. "My grandson's bride. You're perfect." As Oliver Scott approached, his commanding presence cutting through the crowd, Peyton felt an inexplicable pull. Their eyes met, a spark igniting in the autumn air, a prelude to the romance that would upend her world. In the velvet embrace of a New York night 4 years past, the city pulsed with secrets, its heartbeat echoing through rain-slicked streets and the gilded halls of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The gala was a constellation of wealth chandeliers, casting prisms over silk gowns, champagne flutes clinking like soft promises. Oliver Scott, then a rising titan at 28, navigated the crowd with a predator's grace, his tailored tuxedo accentuating the lean lines of his frame. His sharp blue eyes scanned the room not for pleasure, but for strategy, until a rival's betrayal tilted his world. A spiked drink, laced with an aphrodisiac meant to humiliate, sent fire coursing through his veins, blurring the edges of reality. He stumbled from the opulent chaos, the night air a cold slap, as he fled into Central Park's shadowed embrace. Near the Bethesda fountain, where moonlight danced on rippling water, a figure emerged from the mist. Peyton Taylor, barely 22, had been working the gala as a caterer, her college hustle to fund dreams of a tech career. Her presence was accidental, a wrong turn after a long shift, but her compassion was deliberate. "Are you okay?" Soft as a lullaby, her voice cut through Oliver's fevered haze. In the grove's seclusion, their connection was a storm of instinct and solace, her warm brown skin a beacon against his disorientation, a maple leaf birthmark on her shoulder, glimpsed in fleeting intimacy. As dawn crept over the city, Oliver, regaining clarity, left behind his heirloom rosary beads, etched with prayers from his great-grandfather, a relic of faith and family. "Keep these," he'd murmured, unaware that Peyton would clutch them as a lifeline through the years that followed. Now, in the crisp autumn of 2025, Oliver sat in his corner office atop Scott Enterprises' Manhattan headquarters, the skyline a glittering testament to his dominion. The past haunted him like a half-remembered melody, those beads a tether to a night he couldn't fully grasp. His assistant, Wyatt Kane, a wiry man with a knack for uncovering truths, leaned across the mahogany desk, reports strewn like scattered leaves. "Boss, we've hit dead ends. Pawn shops, antique dealers, even street vendors, nothing on those beads." That night was chaos. I couldn't see her face clearly. Oliver's jaw tightened, his fingers tracing the edge of a glass paperweight. "She's out there, Wyatt. A woman who saved me when I was at my lowest. She's not a ghost. Find her." The search consumed him, a quiet obsession woven into his relentless schedule. By day, he brokered billion-dollar deals, his voice commanding boardrooms with a timbre that silenced dissent. By night, he pored over grainy security footage from that gala, searching for a glimpse of her silhouette. The birthmark lingered in his mind, a delicate mark, like a leaf caught in amber, a clue to a woman who'd vanished into the city's pulse. His distrust of women, forged by Isabella's betrayal, warred with a longing he scarcely admitted. "Maybe she's your soulmate," Wyatt had ventured once, earning a rare, wry smile. "Soulmates are for romantics, not realists. But she deserves my gratitude, and those beads belong with her." Meanwhile, Peyton Taylor guarded her secrets in a modest Harlem apartment. The rosary beads rested in a velvet box beneath her bed, a relic of a night that had reshaped her life. She'd been a naive college senior, then crashing the gala for extra cash, her dreams pinned on a future in tech. The man she'd saved, his face a blur of anguish and desire, had left her with more than beads. Twins, Riley and Jordan, now 4, were her heart's center. The assault's trauma lingered unpacked in therapy sessions, where she wrestled with shame and resilience. "I wasn't a victim," she told her counselor, her voice steady but eyes glistening. "I survived, and I built a life for my kids. But those beads prove I helped someone, even if he's a stranger." Peyton's days were a tapestry of grit and grace. Mornings began with braiding Jordan's curls and tying Riley's sneakers, their chatter a balm against the grind. Her internship at Scott Enterprises demanded precision coding firewalls, thwarting cyber threats, yet the office was a minefield of microaggressions. Colleagues whispered about her urban background, their coded slights a daily test of her composure. She'd pull out the beads at home, their cool weight grounding her. "Who were you?" she'd whisper, tracing the etched prayers, wondering if the man ever thought of her. The birthmark on her shoulder, hidden beneath blouses, was a private mark of that night's mystery, a secret she guarded as fiercely as her children's smiles. Oliver's world tilted when Evelyn Scott, his grandmother, vanished from her Upper West Side facility. Her Alzheimer's had woven delusions of grandeur. She believed the family was bankrupt, her billions stashed in Swiss accounts. "Find my grandson," she'd wail, clutching strangers on the street. The call came as Oliver finalized a merger in his office, the city's lights a mosaic beyond his window. "She's on the Brooklyn Bridge," the NYPD officer reported, urgency crackling through the line. Oliver's heart raced a rare crack in his stoic facade. He sped through Manhattan, the Tesla's hum a counterpoint to his pounding pulse. On the bridge, chaos reigned. Cars honked, tourists gawked, and Evelyn stood defiant, her silver hair wild in the wind. Beside her was Peyton, her dark eyes fierce and protective, shielding Evelyn from an irate driver. "She's looking for her grandson," Peyton, said her voice cutting through the din. Oliver approached, his breath catching at the sight of her. Tall, poised her presence, a quiet strength that stirred something deep within him. Evelyn's delusion ignited the moment. This is her, Oliver, your bride, the mother of my great-grandchildren. The twins clinging to Peyton gazed up at him, Riley's suspicion and Jordan's curiosity piercing his defenses. In that instant, Oliver felt the weight of fate. Was this woman's unwavering compassion the key to his past? The beads, the birthmark the night 4 years ago, fragments of a puzzle hovered just out of reach. As Peyton met his gaze, her eyes a blend of defiance and warmth, Oliver sensed the beginning of a collision that would unravel his carefully guarded world. The Brooklyn Bridge stood as a steel cathedral under the autumn sky, its cables weaving a lattice of possibility over the East River. Peyton Taylor knelt beside Evelyn Scott, her hands steady as she draped her worn coat over the older woman's trembling shoulders. The crowd's murmurs faded into a distant hum, their judgmental stares tinged with racial assumptions about Peyton's presence stinging but not breaking her resolve. Riley and Jordan huddled close, their small hands clutching her skirt, their eyes wide with the innocence of youth, yet sharpened by the world's harsh edges. "Mommy, is she okay?" Jordan whispered, her voice a soft melody. Peyton smoothed her daughter's curls, her heart swelling with love. "She's just lost sweetheart. We'll help her." Oliver Scott emerged from the chaos, his presence like a storm breaking over calm waters. His tailored charcoal suit was rumpled, a rare imperfection that made him seem almost human. His blue eyes, sharp as sapphires, locked onto Peyton, and for a moment, time suspended, a spark of recognition, or perhaps longing, flickering in the space between them. Evelyn's voice shattered the silence, her Alzheimer's-fueled conviction ringing out. "Oliver, my boy, this is her, your soulmate, the bride I've chosen." She clutched Peyton's hand, her frail fingers surprisingly strong, and thrust a velvet pouch into her palm. These rosary beads, family heirlooms passed to the Scott daughter-in-law. They're yours now. Peyton's breath caught her fingers brushing the familiar beads she'd hidden for years. The coincidence was dizzying, but she masked her shock, focusing on Evelyn's trembling joy. Oliver, however, saw only a stranger, a black woman with twins, her life starkly contrasting his polished existence. Yet her quiet strength, shielding his grandmother from the crowd's cruelty, stirred a curiosity he hadn't felt since Isabella's betrayal. He said, "Thank you for helping her," his voice low, a velvet timbre that sent an unexpected shiver down Peyton's spine. "I'm Oliver, and you are Peyton Taylor," replied her tone firm, yet warm, her gaze meeting his without flinching and just doing what's right. The twins peered up, Riley's protective scowl softening as Oliver crouched to their level. "Hey, I'm not here to cause trouble," he said, his smile disarming. Jordan giggled, but Riley crossed his arms. "You better not hurt Mommy or Grandma." Evelyn's delusion escalated, her voice rising over the bridge's din. "We're bankrupt, Oliver. No penthouses, no yachts. Just this girl and her babies to save us." The crowd snickered, but Peyton's compassion held firm. "Let's get her somewhere warm," she suggested, guiding Evelyn toward Oliver's waiting car. As they drove to a nearby diner in Dumbo, the twins chattering about superheroes, Oliver concocted a plan. He couldn't risk Peyton exploiting Evelyn's confusion or his wealth. "I'm just a temp worker at Scott Enterprises." He lied, his tone casual, but calculated. "No fortune here, just trying to keep Grandma happy." Peyton nodded, her instincts sensing a half-truth, but prioritizing Evelyn's safety. Over steaming mugs of cocoa at the diner, Evelyn spun tales of a lost empire, insisting Peyton was the key to its revival. You're perfect, kind, strong with children, to carry the Scott name. Peyton's heart ached for the woman's fractured mind, but the beads in her pocket burned with questions. Could Oliver be the man from that night? The thought was absurd, yet his presence, the way his gaze lingered, felt like a thread pulling taut across years. The drama intensified when Ethan Scott Oliver's younger brother arrived unannounced, his slick charm masking a predatory glint. "What's this circus?" he sneered, his eyes raking over Peyton and the twins. A single mom, with no pedigree, playing house with grandma's delusions. His words dripped with classist venom, hinting at racial biases Peyton had faced too often. Oliver's jaw clenched, his protective instinct flaring. "Watch your tongue, Ethan. She's helping, unlike you." The brothers' rivalry crackled, a power struggle over Scott Enterprises' billion-dollar inheritance, with Ethan eyeing the prize Evelyn dangled. Oliver proposed a radical deception to appease Evelyn, a contract marriage to Peyton. "It's for Grandma," he urged in a hushed aside, his breath warm against her ear. "She thinks you're family. Play along and I'll make it worthwhile, cover daycare, rent, whatever you need." Peyton hesitated, her pride warring with practicality. The twins' future, better school stability, hung in the balance. She warned that this isn't a game, her voice steel wrapped in silk. "I'm not some pawn in your family drama." But Evelyn's pleading eyes and the twins' trusting ones swayed her. "Fine. For her. But don't expect me to trust you." The next day at a midtown law office, they signed the contract, a legal marriage, temporary and transactional. Oliver arranged a DNA test to prove the twins were his, a fabrication to solidify Evelyn's fantasy. Wyatt, his loyal assistant, rigged the results with a hacker's finesse, ensuring a match. "They're your kids, boss," Wyatt whispered, handing over the falsified report. Oliver's heart thudded, not from the lie, but from the sight of Peyton with Riley and Jordan, their laughter filling the sterile office. Was this what family felt like? The thought was as foreign as it was intoxicating. As they left, Evelyn beamed, clutching Peyton's hand. "My granddaughter-in-law. We'll plan a grand wedding." Peyton's smile was strained, her fingers tracing the hidden beads in her pocket. Oliver watched her. His lie was a weight he hadn't anticipated. She was no gold digger. Her fierce love for her children, her quiet dignity, challenged his cynicism. In the cab back to Harlem, with the twins dozing between them, their shoulders brushed, sparking a warmth that defied the contract's cold terms. "This doesn't mean anything," Peyton murmured, her eyes on the city lights. Oliver nodded, but his heart whispered otherwise, a dangerous hope that this unlikely alliance might rewrite his solitary story. The autumn sun dipped low over Manhattan, casting a golden glow across the quaint chapel tucked away in Greenwich Village, its ivy-clad walls whispering of promises made and broken. Inside Peyton, Taylor stood at the altar, her heart a tangled dance of resolve and trepidation. Her modest cream dress hugged her curves, its simplicity starkly contrasting to the rented opulence surrounding her, crimson roses cascading from pews, crystal chandeliers twinkling like captured stars. The wedding was a carefully crafted illusion to indulge Evelyn Scott's Alzheimer's-fueled fantasies of a grand family revival. Yet, as Peyton's eyes met Oliver Scott's across the aisle, the line between pretense and possibility blurred, stirring a warmth she dared not name. Oliver, resplendent in a tailored black tuxedo, exuded a quiet intensity that made the air hum. His lie as a temp worker clung to him like a shadow, but his presence at the altar felt achingly honest. The chapel buzzed with hired extras, posing as guests, their murmurs blending with the soft strains of a string quartet. Evelyn sat in the front pew, her silver hair adorned with a vintage fascinator, her eyes alight with delusional joy. My grandson's bride, she whispered, clutching the twins, Riley and Jordan, who fidgeted in their tiny formal wear. Riley tugging at his bow tie, Jordan clutching a sketchbook filled with crayon-drawn hearts. Peyton's mind swirled with contradictions. She'd agreed to this contract marriage for Evelyn's sake, and the practical promise of financial relief, daycare costs, and a better apartment for her twins. Yet standing before Oliver, his blue eyes holding hers with an unspoken question, she felt a pull deeper than obligation. Her past. A night 4 years ago, a stranger's touch, the rosary beads hidden in her Harlem apartment, whispered of connections she couldn't unravel. She'd told herself, "I'm not here for love," but her heart fluttered as Oliver took her hand, his touch steady, yet electric. The officiant, a kindly man with a Brooklyn accent, spoke of unity and eternity, words that felt like velvet lies. Peyton's vows were simple, infused with a soulful cadence that echoed her heritage. "I promise to stand by you, Oliver, for as long as this journey requires, to honor the family we create today." Her voice trembled not from fear, but from the weight of her own sincerity. Oliver's response was measured, and his timbre was low and resonant. "Peyton, I vow to protect and provide, to be the partner you deserve in this arrangement." The word stung, but his gaze softened, a flicker of vulnerability betraying his guarded facade. As they exchanged rings, rented gold bands that gleamed with false promise, the twins giggled, Riley whispering loudly, "Mommy's a princess," Jordan added, "and Mr. Oliver's our knight." The congregation laughed, but Ethan Scott Oliver's scheming brother lurked in the shadows, his smirk a dagger aimed at the charade. He'd crashed the ceremony, his tailored suit and slick grin a mockery of celebration. "This is a farce," he hissed to a hired guest, his voice dripping with ambition. "A single mom from Harlem playing heiress. I'll expose her and claim the company." His words reached Peyton's ears, igniting a fire of defiance. She was no pawn and protected her children from his venom. The reception, held in a rented loft overlooking the Hudson, was a spectacle of faux grandeur. Evelyn had insisted on lavish gifts, a replica mountain of light diamond necklace, a rented Rolls-Royce parked outside a forged deed to a non-existent Upper East Side penthouse. "All for my granddaughter-in-law," she proclaimed, her hands trembling as she handed Peyton a velvet box. Inside, a knockoff pearl crown sparkled its craftsmanship, convincing enough to fool the untrained eye. Peyton accepted it with grace, her smile masking the ache of pretense. "Thank you, Grandma," she said, her voice a melody of gratitude, even as her thoughts drifted to the authentic rosary beads, hidden away their mystery, a tether to her past. Oliver watched her, his heart a battlefield of cynicism and curiosity. Peyton's dignity, the way she navigated the crowd's whispers, some tinged with racial bias, challenged his belief that all women sought his wealth. During their first dance, a slow waltz to Ella Fitzgerald's sultry notes, her closeness stirred him. Her scent, jasmine and resilience, mingled with the warmth of her hand in his. "You're good at this," he murmured, his lips brushing her ear. Peyton's laugh was soft, a spark in the dim light. "I've had practice surviving Oliver. This is just another stage." Her words, laced with truth, pierced his defenses, planting a seed of admiration he couldn't uproot. The drama escalated when Ethan cornered Peyton near the dessert table, his voice low and venomous. "You think you've won climbing the social ladder with your kids as baggage? Oliver's faking it. He's the CEO, not some temp. You're a gold digger in disguise." Peyton's eyes flashed, her spine straightening like steel. "My kids are my treasure, not baggage. And I don't need your brother's money or his lies." Her retort silenced Ethan, but his scheming gaze promised retaliation. Oliver, overhearing, stepped between them, his voice a low growl. "Back off, Ethan. This is my family now. The word family slipped out unbidden, startling him as much as it did Peyton. As the night waned, Evelyn's delusions took center stage. She stood glass, raised her voice, quivering with conviction. To the Scott legacy, rebuilt by Oliver and Peyton, with Riley and Jordan as our future. The crowd cheered, but Peyton felt the weight of the lie. In a quiet moment, she slipped onto the balcony, the city's lights a glittering tapestry below. Oliver followed his silhouette, framed by the doorway. "You don't have to do this forever," he said softly, his breath visible in the cool air until Grandma's stable. Peyton turned her eyes, searching his. "And what happens when the truth comes out, Oliver? To us, to them?" Her question hung unanswered, a cliffhanger in the night's embrace. Their return to Harlem was quiet, the twins asleep in the back seat of Oliver's rented sedan. Peyton clutched the fake crown, her heart torn between duty and desire. Oliver's hand brushed hers as he helped her, a fleeting touch that lingered like a promise. He said, "We'll make this work," his voice a vow beyond the contract. Peyton nodded, but as she climbed the stairs to her apartment, the rosary beads' weight in her mind whispered truths, yet to unfold, a love that might be more than a facade. In the heart of Harlem, where the pulse of jazz and resilience wove through narrow streets, Peyton Taylor's new life as Oliver Scott's wife unfolded in a modest walk-up apartment on 126th Street. The space was a cocoon of warmth, its walls adorned with Jordan's vibrant drawings and Riley's taped-up superhero posters. The scent of Peyton's homemade cornbread lingered, a nod to her Brooklyn roots, blending with the faint aroma of Evelyn's lavender perfume. The contract marriage meant to appease Evelyn's delusions had thrust them into an unexpected domesticity, a fragile dance of pretense and possibility that made Peyton's heart flutter with hope and fear. Oliver, still cloaked in his temp worker lie, moved into the apartment with a duffel bag and a guarded heart. His billionaire world of penthouses and private jets felt a universe away as he navigated the creaking stairs and cramped quarters. Yet the twins' laughter, Riley's bold quips, Jordan's gentle songs, wove a spell he couldn't resist. "Mr. Oliver, you gotta try Mommy's mac and cheese," Riley declared, shoving a plate toward him. Jordan added, "It's better than Castle's." Oliver's rare and genuine smile softened his sharp features, and Peyton caught herself staring, her pulse quickening at the sight of him in her space. Evelyn, now a fixture in their makeshift family, brought chaos and charm. Her Alzheimer's painted vivid fantasies. She believed Scott Enterprises was bankrupt, her billions hidden in a mythical Swiss vault. "We're down to our last dime," she'd proclaimed, draping a thrift store scarf over Peyton like a queen's mantle. "But you, my dear, are our salvation." Peyton played along her heart, aching for the woman's fractured mind, but external threats tested her patience. Mrs. Jenkins, the nosy neighbor across the hall, spewed venom at every chance. A single black mom, dragging kids around, now playing house with a white man. She sneered one morning, her voice carrying through the thin walls. "Those twins have no father, shameful." Peyton's fists clenched her dignity, a shield against the racial barbs. "My children have a mother who loves them," she retorted, her voice a quiet storm. "That's more than enough." Riley, overhearing, puffed out his chest. "Please don't talk to my mommy like that." Jordan clutched Peyton's hand, her eyes wide with empathy. Emerging from the apartment, Oliver caught the tail end of the confrontation. His protective instinct flared, his voice cutting like a blade. "Mrs. Jenkins, mind your business, or I'll ensure the landlord hears about your illegal subletting." His threat, backed by hidden influence, silenced her, but Peyton sensed the power behind his words, a crack in his poor facade. Inside, their evenings became a tapestry of intimacy. Peyton cooked soul food, collard greens, and fried catfish, and taught Oliver recipes passed down from her grandmother. He listened his billionaire polish melting as he chopped onions, his laughter mingling with hers. She teased, "You're hopeless," with a knife guiding his hand, their fingers brushing in a spark that lingered. The twins joined in, Riley smearing flour on Oliver's cheek, Jordan giggling as she shaped biscuits. Evelyn presided like a matriarch, her stories of a lost empire weaving magic into the mundane. She'd say, "You're rebuilding it, Peyton," her hands clasping the twins with love. One night, Evelyn's mischief escalated. Newlyweds shouldn't sleep apart, she declared, locking Peyton and Oliver in the bedroom after dinner. The room was small. The bed, a narrow island beneath a window framing Harlem's neon glow. Peyton's heart raced as Oliver sat beside her, his scent cedar and resolve filling the space. "We can take the floor," he offered, his voice low, but his eyes held a question. Peyton laughed a nervous melody. "We're adults, Oliver. We can share without complications." They lay side by side, the space between them, charged with unspoken desire. Her breath hitched as his arm brushed hers, the warmth a reminder of that night 4 years ago, the rosary beads still hidden in her drawer. "Tell me about you," Oliver whispered, his voice a velvet caress in the dark. Peyton hesitated, then spoke of her orphaned youth, her climb through community college, and the microaggressions she faced as a black woman in tech. "I fight for Riley and Jordan," she said, her voice fierce yet soft. "They're my why." Oliver listened, his cynicism softening. He admitted, "You're stronger than anyone I've met," his hand grazing hers. The touch was a spark, igniting a longing she buried deep. Was this man with his lies and kindness the stranger from her past? The thought was a dangerous flame flickering in her heart. The next morning, Mrs. Jenkins struck again, tossing water from her balcony as Peyton left for work. "Keep your kids in check, homewrecker," she shouted, her words a racial dog whistle. Oliver, stepping out, caught Peyton's arm as she bristled. "She's not worth it," he murmured, but his call to Wyatt arranging a building complaint hinted at his true power. Peyton's suspicion grew, but so did her gratitude. At work, she faced whispers about her temp husband, Fiona Reed's jealousy flaring. "Think you're special now, Peyton," Fiona hissed, her words laced with envy. Peyton's resolve hardened. She'd protect her family, real or fake. As days passed, the apartment became a sanctuary. Oliver taught Riley chess, marveling at the boy's quick wit. Jordan drew him into her stories, her crayon knights bearing his likeness. Peyton watched, her heart torn between caution and yearning. One evening, as rain pattered against the windows, Oliver helped her wash dishes, their hands meeting in soapy water. "This feels real," he said, his eyes searching hers. Peyton's breath caught the rosary beads mystery looming. She whispered, "Don't say things you don't mean," but her heart begged him to tell it. The night ended with a promise unspoken, their alliance deepening into something neither could name, a love that threatened to unravel their carefully woven lies. The Midtown Manhattan skyline shimmered like a mirage of ambition, its glass towers reflecting the October sun. As Peyton Taylor stepped off the A train, her heart a tight knot of determination and dread. The Scott Enterprises headquarters loomed before her, a fortress of steel and innovation, where she, a 26-year-old black intern, fought daily to carve her place. Her internship in the cybersecurity department was a lifeline, proof of her resilience after years of scraping by in Harlem, raising her twins Riley and Jordan alone. Yet the office was a battlefield, its polished corridors laced with whispers and veiled slights that tested her spirit. Today, the weight of her contract marriage to Oliver Scott, still posing as a temp worker, clung to her like a shadow, its secret both a shield and a burden. Peyton's cubicle, tucked on the 16th floor overlooking Times Square's frenetic pulse, was a sanctuary of code and focus. Her fingers danced over the keyboard, debugging firewalls with a precision that belied the chaos within. But the air crackled with hostility. Marcus Hale, her department head, leered from his glass-walled office, his gaze a violation she couldn't report without risking her job. Fiona Reed, a jealous colleague with a venomous tongue, hovered nearby, her comments sharp as shards. Peyton still playing the overachiever. Fiona sneered, her voice dripping with condescension. A black girl from Harlem thinks she's Silicon Valley material. The racial undertones stung, but Peyton's smile was steel. Her quiet response: "My work speaks for itself." The tension erupted at a team meeting in a sleek conference room where neon lights from outside cast an eerie glow. Marcus presented a flawed security protocol, one Peyton had flagged in her reports. When she spoke up, her voice clear, her data irrefutable, Marcus cut her off. "Stick to fetching coffee. Taylor." He snapped, his smirk a challenge. Fiona chimed in. "Yeah, don't overreach." The room's silence was deafening, colleagues averting their eyes. Peyton's heart pounded, but she held her ground, her dignity a flame that refused to flicker. "My analysis is solid, Marcus. Ignoring it risks a breach." Her words hung a gauntlet thrown. That evening, the department's networking event at a midtown rooftop bar became a trap. The city sparkled below, but the air was thick with Marcus's agenda. He cornered Peyton near the bar, his breath heavy with whiskey. "Time to loosen up, Peyton. One drink for team spirit." His hand grazed her arm, lingering too long. Fiona, watching, handed her a cocktail with a sly, "Don't be rude." Peyton's instincts screamed danger, but the pressure to conform, to not be the difficult black woman, forced her hand. She sipped the liquid bitter, and within minutes her skin flushed, her vision blurring. "Not again," she whispered, memories of a drugged night 4 years ago surging like a tide. She stumbled to the restroom, splashing water on her face, her maple leaf birthmark, a stark reminder of survival. Cloaked in his temp disguise, Oliver Scott was at the event, blending into the crowd, with a janitor's badge clipped to his shirt. He'd taken to shadowing Peyton's workdays, his protective instinct growing despite the lie of his identity. From across the rooftop, he saw her distress, her unsteady steps, the panic in her eyes. His heart clenched, a fury he hadn't felt since Isabella's betrayal ignited. Wyatt hissed into his phone, his assistant's voice crackling through. "Get security footage from the bar, now." Slipping through the crowd, he reached Peyton as she leaned against a railing, her breathing shallow. "Peyton." "It's me," he said, his voice a lifeline. She blinked up at him, her gaze clouded but trusting. "Oliver, I didn't mean to." He guided her to a quiet corner, his arm steady around her. "You're safe," he murmured, his touch gentle yet firm, a vow unspoken. As she regained clarity, her anger flared. Marcus did this. Fiona helped. Oliver's jaw tightened, his billionaire power simmering beneath the temp facade. "They'll pay," he promised, his eyes a storm of resolve. The next morning in the cybersecurity department, Peyton braced for retaliation. Smug behind his desk, Marcus dangled a warning for her unprofessional exit. Fiona whispered to colleagues, "She's just attention-seeking." But Oliver, unnoticed in his corner, had orchestrated a reckoning. Wyatt delivered the footage to Oliver's encrypted server, the loyal shadow. The video was damning Marcus, slipping something into Peyton's drink. Fiona's knowing smirk. Oliver stormed into the department. His temp badge discarded, his CEO authority unveiled in a single command. "Marcus Hale, you're fired. Effective immediately." The room froze, gasps echoing. Marcus blustered. Who do you think you are? Oliver's smile was cold, lethal. I'm Oliver Scott, president of Scott Enterprises. Security, escort him out. Fiona paled, her protests silenced as Wyatt added. Legal charges are pending, including embezzlement and harassment. Peyton watched, stunned, as Marcus was led away, her heart racing with vindication and questions. The office buzzed with shock whispers of Oliver's true identity, spreading like wildfire. Peyton confronted him in a quiet hallway, her eyes blazing. A temp worker. Huh? You've been lying to me. Oliver's expression softened guilt, etching his features. I had to protect Grandma. And you. I didn't trust anyone, not after my past. Peyton's voice trembled, her strength a beacon. I'm not your ex, Oliver. I'm fighting for my kids, for my place here. Please don't make me a fool. His hand reached for hers, a tentative bridge. You're no fool, Peyton. You're the strongest person I know. Oliver handed her a black card to ease her burden, claiming it held a modest project bonus of $100,000. He said for the twins, for Evelyn's care, his voice low, earnest. Peyton hesitated, her pride warring with need. She warned that this doesn't buy my trust, but her fingers closed around the card, a lifeline for her family. That evening, Oliver arranged a move to a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, claiming it was a friend's discount. The twins ran through the spacious rooms, Riley whooping, Jordan sketching the bay windows. Evelyn beamed her delusions, painting the home as a restored Scott manor. As they settled in, Peyton's heart softened Oliver's actions. His defense, his quiet care chipping at her walls. At dinner, their eyes met over her sweet potato pie, a silent conversation of gratitude and longing. You didn't have to do this, she said, her voice a melody of vulnerability. Oliver's smile was a promise. I wanted to. For you. For them. The moment lingered, a spark in the candlelit glow. But Peyton's thoughts drifted to the rosary beads, their mystery, a shadow over her growing feelings. Was Oliver her savior from that night, or just another man hiding truths? The Brooklyn Heights brownstone glowed under the soft October dusk, its warm lights spilling onto tree-lined streets, where leaves danced like embers. Inside, Peyton Taylor presided over a dinner table, alive with laughter. Riley and Jordan giggling over Evelyn's tales of a lost Scott fortune. Oliver's quiet smiles softening his billionaire edges. The contract marriage, meant as a fleeting charade, had woven them into a fragile family, their evenings a tapestry of shared meals and stolen glances. Yet beneath the warmth, secrets simmered, the rosary beads in Peyton's drawer, Oliver's hidden CEO identity, and a past that threatened to unravel their delicate bond. Peyton's days at Scott Enterprises had shifted since Oliver's dramatic intervention. Marcus Hale's firing sent ripples through the office, and Fiona Reed's silence was a begrudging retreat. Peyton's colleagues now eyed her with curiosity, some with respect, others with envy, tinged by racial bias. She's got the CEO's ear, they whispered, unaware of the marriage contract. Peyton buried herself in work, her cybersecurity projects earning quiet praise, but her heart wrestled with Oliver's deception. His black card tucked in her purse funded Evelyn's doctor visits and the twins' new school supplies, yet it felt like a transaction, a reminder of the lie binding them. The facade cracked when Sophia Lang swept into their lives like a storm over the Hudson. A poised woman with sharp features and a calculated smile, Sophia appeared at a company gala in a glittering Soho loft, her presence commanding attention. She approached Oliver, her voice a sultry purr. Mr. Scott, it's been 4 years. A familiar rosary bead dangled in her hand, a replica, but close enough to jolt Oliver. She claimed you left this with me that night, her eyes locked onto his. Peyton, nearby in a sapphire dress that hugged her curves, felt her heart stutter. The beads, her secret talisman, were now a weapon in Sophia's hands. Sophia's story was a calculated strike. She claimed to be the woman from Oliver's drugged night 4 years ago, presenting a young boy, Leo, as their son. "He's your heir, Oliver," she said, her voice laced with ambition. "I've raised him alone, but you'll do right by us." The gala's chatter faded, eyes turning to the drama unfolding. Peyton's breath caught her mind racing to her own hidden beads. Was Sophia the truth, or a lie threatening her fragile family? Oliver's face was a mask, but his eyes flickered with doubt. "We'll verify this," he said coolly, signaling Wyatt to investigate. Back at the brownstone, the tension was palpable. Evelyn, sensing the rift, clutched Peyton's hand. "You're my granddaughter-in-law." "Not her," she insisted, her Alzheimer's blurring truth and delusion. Peyton forced a smile, but her heart ached. In their shared bedroom, Oliver paced, his voice low. "Sophia's lying. I'd remember something." Peyton's eyes blazed, her voice a quiet storm. "You've lied to me, Oliver, about who you are. How do I trust you now?" His hand reached for hers, a plea in his touch. "I lied to protect you, Peyton. I'm falling for you. Doesn't that count?" Her heart wavered, but the bead's mystery held her back. The drama escalated when Ethan Scott, Oliver's scheming brother, seized the moment. Ethan produced forged documents at a family meeting in Evelyn's Upper West Side suite, claiming Sophia's story aligned with his bid for Scott Enterprises' control. Oliver's distracted by this fake marriage. He sneered, his eyes raking over Peyton with disdain. "A Harlem mom with no pedigree. I've got the real heir, Leo." His words, laced with classist and racial venom, cut deep. Peyton stood tall, her voice fierce. "My kids are my legacy, Ethan. You don't get to define my worth." Riley, overhearing, shouted, "Leave Mommy alone." Jordan clung to Peyton, her sketches a silent defense. Oliver's fury was a controlled blaze. "You're done, Ethan. Wyatt's auditing your accounts. Expect legal action." The threat, backed by his CEO power, silenced Ethan, but Sophia's claim lingered. Wyatt's investigation revealed cracks. Sophia, a former con artist, had a history of fraud, and Leo's paternity was dubious. Yet the gala's fallout spread. Office gossip painted Peyton as a gold digger, Sophia as the wronged mother. Peyton faced it with grit, confronting Fiona in the break room. "Say what you want about me," she said, her voice steady, "but my family's real." Fiona backed off, but the whispers persisted. At home, the twins sensed the strain. Jordan drew a picture of Mommy and Daddy holding hands, her empathy a balm. Riley, protective, asked Oliver, "Are you leaving us?" Oliver knelt, his voice soft. "Never, buddy. You're my team." The words stirred Peyton, but Sophia's shadow loomed. One night, Oliver planned a proposal to solidify their bond, reserving Starlight Restaurant in Central Park. In a flowing crimson gown, Peyton arrived with Evelyn and the twins, her heart open but guarded. The tables were empty, and the air was heavy with absence. "Where's Daddy?" Jordan asked, her voice small. Oliver's absence was a dagger. Sophia had summoned him with a fabricated emergency about Leo. Peyton's heart broke, her trust shattered. "He chose her," she whispered, leading the twins away. Evelyn's pleas echoed, "Don't give up, dear." As they stepped into the rainy night, Peyton clutched the rosary beads in her pocket, their weight a reminder of truths yet to surface. After debunking Sophia's lie, Oliver, racing to the restaurant, found only empty chairs, a cliffhanger that threatened to unravel the love he'd only begun to embrace. The rain fell in relentless sheets over Manhattan's FDR Drive, a silver curtain blurring the city's neon pulse as Peyton Taylor's cab sped through the night. Her heart pounded, a tempest of betrayal and resolve, as she clutched Riley and Jordan close, their small bodies trembling against her in the back seat. The contract marriage to Oliver Scott, once a fragile bridge between duty and desire, had crumbled under the weight of secrets unveiled. Sophia Lang's claim, Ethan Scott's treachery, and Oliver's hidden identity as the billionaire CEO of Scott Enterprises had torn through Peyton's trust like a storm through fragile sails. The rosary beads in her pocket, a relic of that fateful night 4 years ago, felt heavier than ever their mystery, now a wound rather than a wonder. Hours earlier, the Starlight restaurant in Central Park had stood empty, its candlelit tables a mocking stage for Oliver's absence. Peyton, resplendent in a crimson gown that hugged her curves, had arrived with Evelyn and the twins, her heart teetering on the edge of hope. Jordan's excited whispers, Daddy's proposing, and Riley's protective glances had fueled her courage. But Oliver's no-show, drawn away by Sophia's fabricated crisis about her son Leo, was a betrayal that cut deeper than his lies about being a temp worker. He chose her. Peyton had whispered, her voice breaking, as she led her children into the rain, Evelyn's pleas trailing behind. Granddaughter-in-law. Wait. He loves you. As the cab wove through traffic, Peyton's mind replayed the revelations that had shattered her world. At Scott Enterprises, Ethan had exposed Oliver's CEO status. His words, a venomous blade. He's been playing you, Peyton, a Harlem mom with no place in our world. The racial and classist undertones stung, echoing the slights she'd endured her whole life. Worse was Ethan's claim that he, not Oliver, was the father of Riley and Jordan, born from an assault 4 years ago, the night she'd saved a stranger in Central Park. The truth, twisted by Ethan's ambition for the company's billion-dollar inheritance, left Peyton reeling. Divorce. She'd declared, her voice steady, despite the ache. Tomorrow, 9:30, Civil Affairs Bureau. The twins' quiet sobs broke her heart. Mommy, why isn't Daddy coming? Jordan asked, her crayon-drawn family portraits crumpled in her small hands. Riley, ever the protector, glared out the window. He lied to us. Peyton smoothed their curls, her strength a beacon in the storm. We're enough, my loves. Always. But her resolve faltered as headlights flared behind them. Oliver's black Tesla weaving dangerously through the rain. He's chasing us, Riley gasped, hope flickering in his eyes. Peyton's heart lurched between fury and a longing she couldn't extinguish. On the FDR drive, Oliver's desperation was a living thing. He'd debunked Sophia's lie, Leo's paternity a fraud, her beads a cheap replica, but the cost was steep. Wyatt's urgent call had confirmed Ethan's treachery, forged documents, embezzled funds, and a plot to claim the company. Oliver's only thought was Peyton, the woman who'd pierced his cynical heart. He muttered, I can't lose her, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. The rain blurred his vision, the road a slick ribbon of fate. As he swerved to catch Peyton's cab, a truck veered into his lane, metal screaming, as his car spun into a guardrail. Peyton's scream echoed as she saw the crash, her cab screeching to a halt. Stop the car, she shouted, flinging the door open. Rain soaked her gown as she ran to the wreckage, Riley and Jordan crying, Daddy. Oliver slumped in the driver's seat, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead, his blue eyes dazed, but fixed on her. Peyton. He rasped, his voice a fragile thread. I'm sorry. Her hands trembled as she cradled his face, fear drowning her anger. Stay with me, Oliver. Don't you dare leave us. Paramedics swarmed, pulling him from the wreckage, as Peyton clung to the twins, their sobs a chorus of dread. At Mount Sinai Hospital, the sterile waiting room was a limbo of antiseptic and anxiety. Evelyn arrived, her frail form trembling, but resolute. My boy's strong, she whispered, clutching Peyton's hand. And he loves you, dear. Peyton's heart ached, the rosary beads a burning weight in her pocket. Wyatt appeared, his face grim, carrying a dossier that changed everything. "Madam, we dug deeper as Oliver ordered. 4 years ago he was drugged at that gala. You saved him, Peyton. The twins, they're his." The words hit like a thunderclap, unraveling years of doubt. The birthmark, the beads, the night it was Oliver all along. Peyton's therapy sessions flashed through her mind, her counselor's words about healing through truth. "I was assaulted," she'd confessed, unpacking the trauma that birthed Riley and Jordan. Knowing Oliver was the man she'd saved, not her attacker, shifted her world. Tears streamed down her face as she faced Evelyn. "We lied to you too, Grandma. I'm sorry." Evelyn's eyes cleared despite her illness softened. "Silly girl, you're my family. Give him a chance." In the ICU, Oliver stirred his hand, reaching for hers. "Peyton," he whispered, "I love you. Let me fix this." Her heart, bruised but open, whispered back, but the divorce loomed a cliffhanger of choice in the sterile light. In the soft glow of Mount Sinai Hospital's recovery ward, where the hum of monitors wove a quiet symphony, Oliver Scott lay propped against pillows, his blue eyes fixed on Peyton Taylor with a devotion that burned brighter than the city lights beyond. The car accident on the FDR Drive had left him bruised, a stitched gash on his abdomen, a faint scar tracing his brow, but his spirit was unbroken, fueled by a love he'd nearly lost. Peyton stood at his bedside, her crimson gown replaced by a simple sweater and jeans, her dark eyes a storm of forgiveness and fire. Riley and Jordan perched on the bed's edge, their small hands clutching Oliver's, their voices a chorus of hope. "Daddy, you're okay," Jordan sang, her curls bouncing. Riley, ever vigilant, added, "Don't scare us again." The truth had unraveled the lies that bound them. Wyatt's investigation completed, in the hospital's shadow, exposed Sophia Lang's fraud. Her son, Leo, was not Oliver's. Her rosary beads, a cunning forgery. Ethan Scott's treachery ran deeper: embezzlement of millions, forged paternity claims, and an assault on Peyton 4 years ago, mistaken as Oliver's act. Legal charges were filed, and Ethan's arrest was a swift reckoning broadcast across New York's news. Sophia, too, faced justice, her schemes collapsing as Leo was placed with a caring foster family, a resolution Peyton insisted on. No child should suffer for her lies. She'd told Wyatt her compassion a beacon. Peyton's heart, once shattered by betrayal, found solace in therapy. At a Harlem community center, she'd unpacked the assault's trauma, her counselor guiding her to reclaim her narrative. "You're not defined by pain," the silver-braided woman had said. Peyton felt a weight lift, knowing Oliver was her savior from that night. Now resting openly on her nightstand, the rosary beads were no longer a mystery, but a symbol of their shared survival. Oliver's deception, his CEO disguise, stung, but his actions spoke louder, firing Marcus Hale, protecting her from workplace venom, chasing her through a storm to prove his love. In the hospital, Evelyn presided like a matriarch, reborn, her Alzheimer's softened by moments of clarity. My granddaughter-in-law declared, clasping Peyton's hand, "You've brought our family back." The twins' school arcs flourished. Riley joined a chess club. Jordan's art was displayed at a local gallery, thanks to Oliver's quiet funding. Peyton, promoted to a full-time cybersecurity analyst, stood taller at Scott Enterprises, her brilliance silencing doubters. The office, once a minefield of bias, now buzzed with respect, her colleagues learning from her resilience. The hospital room became a stage for reconciliation. Oliver, his voice a velvet promise, took Peyton's hand. "I've cleaned up the mess, Ethan, Sophia, the lies. I want you, Peyton, not as a contract, but as my forever." His eyes, vulnerable yet fierce, held hers. "Marry me again, for real." Peyton's heart raced, memories of their shared nights, flirtations over soul food, stolen touches in their Brooklyn brownstone flooding back. She'd fought for her twins, her dignity, her place in a world that often dismissed her blackness. Oliver saw her not as a stereotype, but as a force of love and strength. Riley and Jordan chimed in their voices, a duet of joy. "Say yes, Mommy." Jordan pleaded, her sketchbook open to a drawing of a family under a rainbow. Riley nodded. "He's our real daddy." Evelyn, tears in her eyes, added, "Granddaughter-in-law, make this old heart happy." Peyton laughed a healing melody and leaned close, her lips brushing Oliver's ear. "I love you too, Oliver Scott. Let's do this right." The room erupted in cheers, nurses peeking in with smiles as Oliver slipped a real heart-of-the-ocean diamond ring onto her finger. Its sparkle a promise of eternity. Their second wedding, planned for a spring day in Central Park, was no facade. Peyton envisioned a celebration blending her heritage, soulful hymns, vibrant colors with Oliver's legacy, a union of two worlds. As they left the hospital hand in hand, the twins skipping ahead, Peyton felt the city's pulse align with her own. Oliver's arm around her was a vow, his love a shield against the world's storms. "We're a family," he whispered, his breath warm against her cheek. Peyton nodded, her heart full, the rosary beads now a shared talisman of their journey. But their story isn't over. It's a call to embrace your own truths, to fight for love against all odds. Like Peyton and Oliver, you can rewrite your narrative, bridge divides, and build a legacy of courage and connection. So, dear reader, what lies are you ready to unravel? What love will you chase through the rain? Step into your own story. Start now and let love lead the way.